Hello everybody, it's the 24th of March today, and I had planned at the end of last year to repot this larch of mine, but it's gone ahead and started sprouting, and I don't feel it's particularly in danger of, being over potted or pot bound too much this year. I think I can get away with it. So because it's already reached a fairly advanced stage of its pushing out its shoot, I'm not going to repot this one. I am going to take off a lot of this moss and some of the surface, add some controlled release fertilizer and give it a little top dressing, but I'll do that off camera. This video is not actually about this larch, it's about these two larches that I called in earlier videos in the playlist A and B, or was it B and A? I'm fairly certain it was A and B, but I haven't bothered to look back at the videos to double check that. These, as you can see, they've been in a different part of the garden and slightly different microclimate, so although they are bursting and the buds have swollen, they're nowhere near as advanced as these others, so I feel I can get away with repotting these, and repot them I'm going to do. Okay, drinks canning for scale on a quick 360. These trees had a trim back in the autumn, which I believe I filmed and I think is in the playlist. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I can see a couple of long shoots that I missed, which I'm just going to nip back, but this is my sort of long-winded, rambling way of saying I'm not going to do a major top trim, even though I'm going to root prune, and that's partially because I just want to remove some of these straight pieces that I must have missed, or maybe I didn't do it, maybe I only dreamt it, or maybe it was another tree I was thinking of. I do have rather a lot of trees. Okay, so that's probably all that I'm going to do. The other reason that I'm not particularly going to take a lot of growth off is I plan to pop them into slightly bigger pots, so I shan't be having to take a lot of root growth off to get them into bigger pots, obviously. Okay, so out with the turntable, in with the potting tray, try and contain a little bit of the mess. I will just quickly get rid of that moss and some of the surface level of soil. Weeds. Now, this tree definitely had a trim back in the autumn. I can remember definitely doing this one, so handful of this controlled release fertilizer. This is stuff only supposedly lasts 3 months once it gets going, once the soil warms up, which means I'll have to top up with liquid feeds towards the end of the summer into the autumn, but that's okay because I'd want to swap to a higher phosphagen, is that right? High nitrogen in the spring, phosphagen in the autumn, to help with root development and things, to give the trees a chance to build up some roots and strength and health for the winter. Okay, so that's easy peasy, all done. Pop the canning for scale quickly, just so you can judge the size. Okay, but as I said, this video isn't really about that tree, so start with the one I believe was candidate A. I quite liked it in this cream tray, but I had this pot for Christmas and I feel the tree could benefit from a little bit more space, and I just think it would look nice in the brown also. And I possibly have a nice little maple or something that could go into this cream pot that might suit it better. So that's got the tree out. Let's just try and get rid of all this surface moss, of which there is a lot built up. Actually, quite a lot of root build up. So let's remove that. And that's probably all I'm going to do, just remove all that was going round and round and round, and give the rest of the roots the opportunity to get out into the new substrate. Let's just clean up that trunk a second. Not the greatest nabari, but I do like it. It feels natural, and I prefer natural too. I know some people like to get lots of symmetrical radial roots all laid out neatly, and you know, that's cool, more power to their elbow. To my eyes, I like to see the sort of trees that I might see growing in a forest somewhere. And no one's primped and cared for those roots. And as I've said in other videos, I have to look at these trees every day. They have to look good to me. Otherwise, what's the point, to be honest? It'd be nice if everyone liked them, but you don't have to, is what I'm trying to say. I'm sure I'll have some trees you must like. Okay, so this is turning out to be a nice and simple little process. Don't think I'm going to have to do huge amounts. I'm going to pop some controlled release fertilizer again into the very top layer of that. Just mix it into that top layer so that the roots aren't sitting directly onto the fertilizer granules, but not all the way down to the bottom, because otherwise any goodness will just leach out of the holes in the bottom, which defeats the object slightly. And then that tree's going to sit in there rather nicely. I don't have a lot of room, so I'm going to use my new favourite tool. In the bucket up. My new favourite tool is this miniature scoop. If you haven't seen my recent videos, you'll know I've been espousing the espousing, is that the right word? I don't know. The virtue of this little scoop and dibber, that just gives me a little bit more fine control of trying to get the new substrate, compost, soil, call it what you will, around the outside of these pots. Outside of the, well, the inside of these pots, the outside of the root ball. because I've got a very flat root ball and I haven't washed existing soil off the roots, I'm not too concerned about this tree falling over. If we get any sort of gales forecast and things, I would worry, but this tree's going into my shade house, which is, well, if you don't know, if you're new to my videos, it's just an old greenhouse with no glass, but instead shade netting over the whole thing, which keeps the wind out and the brightest of the bright sun off, and will just give these trees a battling chance to get themselves established over the next few weeks. As the roots heal, begin to quest out, trying to find goodness and purchase, and then in 3 or 4 weeks this will get moved back out onto the benches. There we go. So a bit more controlled release fertilizer over the top and around the side. And then the last few scoops just to cover that up, keep it moist so that it can release its goodness. And there is tree A repotted, and I'm happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and just do exactly the same process on tree B, and then we'll look at them both a little more detail. Okay, so cleaned up the surface of that, and I just thought I'd give you a bit of a close-up to the Nibari. Again, definitely unconventional. It's got this one kind of root that comes out and then radiating roots from that. And I like it. In fact, I like the whole tree. I mean, it's not a conventional larch shape at all. But it does make me happy, and I guess that's got to count for something, right? Let me know what you think down in the comments. Okay, so I did take off quite a bit of root in the end, even though going into bigger pots I didn't particularly expect to have to, but I guess they've been in that pot long enough that there was a lot of round roots. Now, instead of the feeder roots being on the end of all these long round bits and having to go all the way around to get to the tree, they'll be able to put out some fresh new feeder roots, nice and close to the tree, making it not have to work so hard. Okay, so here's tree A in its new pot and its new home, and I think it's looking quite nice. I might just nip off a couple of little pieces that I can see. For example, that's growing too upright, and that's growing too downwards. That upright piece there. Bit of a crossing piece there. But other than that, I think I'm going to just leave that as it is, and let it grow on for this year. Trim it back regularly and see what kind of tree I can make from it. We'll come back and look at it later in the summer, or the fall, autumn, whenever. There's the canning for scale, and quickly we'll look at tree B in its new home, and again, because I took off quite a bit of root, I'm going to remove a couple of buds off most branches, just to, well, get it to backbud a little more, but also to give those roots, existing roots, not quite so much to have to carry, until it can put out some more. And as always, the more you look at a tree, when you think you've finished, you suddenly see a crossing piece or an ugly piece that you don't like. sort of staring balefully at you. A kind of accusing tone. You missed me. But maybe that's just my imagination. Okay, I'm not taking off wedges and huge amounts because, as I say, this tree was pruned back in the autumn. So there we go. Like you said, it's kind of crossing. And there you have it. Both these trees were grown from the same batch of seed, sown at the same time, and I basically allowed them to grow in entirely different ways, just for fun, just because you can. And in fact, if memory serves, I believe this came from the same batch as well, although obviously it's been grown in bigger pots and has allowed it to become a bigger and fatter tree. So there you have it. Thank you so much for watching. I do really appreciate it. Do all the usual YouTube things, the liking, the subscribing, the commenting below, but most of all, please stay safe, everybody.